Hey guys. Alright, well, here is the gear. We're going to use some cheap, some expensive, and some middle of the road. The cheap brush here is the Yaqi, and this is their finest Badger, a two-band brush. I think I've used it once, and I can't remember how it did. I really like the ergonomics of this handle. I thought I'd use the brush again to see if I can just go ahead and yank the knot, or if I like it enough to keep it. The expensive is the Wolfman WR1, and I'm pretty sure this is my 54 gap head that we have there. Paladin makes brushes, and I've featured their brushes recently because I'm searching for a good one for me that kind of matches my stuff, my preferences. But they also make soap, and they're these premium, heavy glass jars. Silk Road is the soap for today. The Nacet is the blade. It's fairly young. It just has 6 uses. I am, as you can probably see, shaving off much more growth than usual. 5 days, something like that. Maybe I lost count. It's not more than 6. And so that's why well, I didn't really choose. Oh, that's why I made sure I didn't have a really old blade that I was playing around with at like 15 or something like that. So I think the Wolfman is, and this is for the WR1, the 50, the 54 here. To be precise, you can look in the description of the video. It'll have the accurate gap for the base plate. It is on the mild end of the WR1 spectrum for sure, but it's going to do a great job, I'm confident. I haven't tried the Silk Road yet, I don't think. It has notes of Vetiver, Lavender, and Anise, and it smells pretty nice. It's slightly low from the tub in terms of strength, you know. You can definitely smell that lavender. Oh, and the kind of the grassy, sinewy, grassy vetiver type scent. And yeah, if you told me anise, I could probably smell it. I don't know if my nose is good enough to smell it otherwise. But I remember a couple of years ago when Paladin announced that they were selling their soaps, and I don't know if they were getting rid of inventory. I don't know if they were. My impression was they were closing down their soap making period. But just recently, within the past month or 3, I went on their website and they were still cranking. Now, are they selling old stock? I doubt it. You know, I don't know exactly what happened, but I'm really glad that I bought some of the Paladin soaps that I did. It's a good soap base, as I recall, and I like a lot of their scents. Unfortunately, a couple of my favorites of theirs do have menthol in them, and that's not enjoyable for me. Fortunately, this is not one of them. I haven't tried this one yet. This is not one I bought directly from them. I bought it used. And I think when I went to buy this one, back when they announced it a few years ago, they announced the sale, you know, this one wasn't available. You know, a lot of them were getting sold out or something. So I'm looking forward to trying it. It looks pretty new. As you can see, it's these heavy glass UV kind of tubs. They are just whoosh. All right, so I've had my brush soaking for a while, and I like to do that when I have a Finest Badger brush, get those tips as soft as possible with the Finest Badger. And here are a couple of other examples. Here's a Paladin, and then here is this is a Maggard SHD knot, and both of those are 2-bands as well. And what the 2-band offers is tips that have been treated, and to the degree in which they've been treated, that will soften them up, or it will leave them fairly firm, or anywhere in between. Sometimes so soft that they're extra sloppy jelly, like you've got some kind of car wash sponge on your face, and some people like that. Usually makers don't take them quite that far, but they're definitely out there if you want to go get them. I think a lot of times the maker will find a place in between. So that's a 2-band. Here's a 3-band. You can see that dark band here is much thinner over here with the 3 band, so you can see more easily 3 distinctive color bands for the bristles. And I used this one just the other day. That's a good one. All right, so let me get my face wet. We'll load up the soap. Now, the tendency of some people online is when they have more growth than even 1 day perhaps, or especially if we're talking 5 days, their turn is toward an open comb type situation. And yes, generally an open comb is more aggressive than its solid bar counterpart. Generally, not always true, but sometimes, most of the time. But you can't compare an open comb versus any solid bar. There are too many factors at play. You can only compare it not even against its own brand, but it's against its own model. You see me about to sneeze right there. I think I got to the pause button in time. All right, so let's load up. Let's do a 40-second load. I'm going to shake a lot of the water out of the brush here. There we go. Still quite wet. And this has had some scraped from it, but it doesn't look like it's had a lot of use. And I'm pretty confident I'm going to enjoy this scent. I want to keep it around, and so I'm going to go ahead and load right from the tub. Not a whole lot of room to move around, unlike the wider sterling soap containers, and that little bit of width you can see does make quite a difference. Oh, and then also this one comes in more. It's got a thicker wall, and there's a step in which it comes in, and so that further reduces the interior diameter. All right, so I said 40 seconds. Oh, 0 rolling around right there, so that's pretty good. With these finest Badger brushes, I was telling you about the tips. The other thing about them is usually they have a fairly firm, reasonably firm strand of hair there. The bristle itself, I think maybe you just call boar bristles, and so maybe we call the Badgers hairs, but they, that backbone, that strength of hair, the strength of the hair is what is a prized reason why people just don't have a bunch of silver tips. All right, that's 40 seconds. There we go. And put that in my bowl. I'm going to take this excess and kind of do a face wash here. Since I've got so much hair, I just kind of want to do a little bit of extra prep today. And I don't usually do a shower or a face wash prior to the shave. But in this case, I am. Kind of. Also the lavender's coming out as the most forward, which is not all that, not bad. It's a great type of scent to use in shaving, of course. All right. Silk Road. All right, I'm going to splash this off. For the most part, at least. And let us start whipping that lather up. 40 seconds of loading. We'll just see if that's enough. Since this soap hasn't been used in a while, and mentally I can't quite remember if the Paladin soaps needed more load time. It seems like it's not really a hard soap. It's definitely the Crope base. It's not a hard soap, and so doesn't seem like it's going to take some extra time. Nice little scent coming up from the tub here. I love this type of handle where I get a nice place to put my finger, but there's not an overly large amount of pressure on the tip of my finger. The pressure is divided along the whole surface here, and then it's long enough to where the base can kind of sit in my hand and touch the pad of my hand there. That's one of my favorite types of brush handle shapes. What's immediately jumping out is a little bit of an airy type of lather. So we'll see if that turns creamy as we keep adding water and just work it. I can feel the density here in this knot, and this is not an expensive Badger brush. Get on AliExpress.com and you can order it in the Yaqi store. Yes, it says the brand name right there. And this is just a 24 millimeter knot, so it's not really big, according to what some people prefer. Lather's looking nice so far. But I can, if you're looking for a dense Badger that's got some backbone, then you know that I definitely would consider this one. And as the shave goes on, I'll be able to add to that information and tell you how the tips feel. We'll see if they're soft enough. There are guys out there who like really scrubby brushes and not really going for comfort. They want scrub. And so these high backbone finest Badgers that don't have the tips treated a whole lot, that's right up their alley. There are some high mountain whites that are very similar. If you want kind of scrubby tips, but you want a little bit more flex in your hairs, in your fibers there, then there are some high mountain white that do that. Now, like the Sterling high mountain white and I think the Elite high mountain white are both very flexible and soft tips. But there's another two other high mountain whites that I've played around with that just didn't have those quite soft tips. They have more scrub to them, more feel to the tips. They weren't scritchy by any means, but they just weren't soft. All right, well, the lather is kind of thickening up as we keep adding water. I can kind of feel the slickness on my face, not just from that remnant that I put just now, but from the, I didn't do a complete rinse from the pre-wash, and so I can still feel it on there. So even if this doesn't turn into kind of a luxurious type of creamy lather, I know that it's going to be a serviceable one. It's going to work well. It's going to give my razor good glide. It just may or may not lack in the luxury creamy type feel when we get a bunch of water in it. Kind of pull it up and look at the texture of it. So we've got some bits. Look at how they're holding their structure up on the wall there. Now when he gets into a large quantity, it starts to be affected by gravity more. And so then we will see how it does drop. Now look at that guy. Look how he's wiggling. He's when you get a lot more water in him, he won't wiggle quite as firmly, because his structure right now, even though you can see he is moving, see he did drop into the bowl and didn't really change in structure very much. So that tells me that as I use I don't want to waste some good lather. And it's also providing my nose kind of more of an entrance into the scent as we go on here. I have as my aftershave, I hope I remember to use it, I've got Jairus Musk for Men. It is one that I picked up at the beauty supply store. It was a large beauty supply store, and so, you know, they have equipment for barbers, of course, and Lustre and the Jeris are these tall bottles that represent a great value if you happen to like their scent. And obviously for barbers who give guys a shave, then they say, hey, what kind of cologne you want, what kind of aftershave you want. And so we're not talking high quality here, probably not very much skin food at all, probably just scent and alcohol. But I figure it's a good day to try it out. When it's only just a few bucks for a quart of it, maybe not literally a quart, but then sometimes it's hard to resist that kind of thing. Because if you do strike on one that you do enjoy, then wow, you're in for a great value for your money. All right, let's do that same drop that we did before. Ah, look, it's hard even to get it up in one blob. See, we added the water, and see now it's very different. Stretchy, long. Let's just go with that. Is this one a tallow soap? Let's take a quick look. Stearic acid, water, tallow, yes. It does have then coconut oil. Other ingredients that are maybe notable, shea butter. Now it's got castor oil, rice bran oil. Those may be other types of oils and butters that are for skin conditioning purposes and things like that. I'm just going to wipe off the threads of the container here of the soap. All right, very good. One more splash of water to my face. So 5 days of growth to take down, and let's see how it goes. Looks like I've got plenty of lather to do the job. Oh, before I do that, let me press it down kind of hard. Just make sure the water that's maybe deep in the brush gets mixed in with the lather. Don't want that to flush out on my face. I can feel the backbone there, but the tips are pretty nice. Not super soft. And so they're giving me some scrub, but they are soft. It's just that there are so many of them, and the backbone is what's making them scrubby, not the tips themselves. And so it sounds like if you are in the market for a finest badger brush, or you don't know quite what badger you want, but you know that you want something kind of firm, scrubby but not scritchy, not something that's going to be abrasive or irritate your skin perhaps, then this brush might be a good way to go. And it seems like I may have nailed the lather. The oils in my beard are probably making it seem a little wetter than it might normally be. So I bet the second pass is going to be different, in a more creamy kind of way. So while I do love the ergonomics of this handle, I'm afraid I've got a lot of brushes to choose from. And so what that means is I don't think I'm likely to want to really turn to this two-band brush. So maybe I will think about yanking it out. Yank out the knot, and because I have another knot that I think might fit it well. How much water did we use at the initial stage? It took a good bit. 28 milliliters, something like that. All right, well, we forgot, as in me, I forgot to load up the brush, the razor here. So this is the Nacet, and it's got about 6 or 7 uses on it. Maybe more, maybe a few more. I can't. Sometimes I don't remember to write on the little envelope to keep track. So sometimes I miss a tally mark. is their aristocrat style handle that Wolfman has, and I really enjoy it. I think it's functional, but also really nice looking. All right, here we go. 5 days of growth with a mild-ish razor. I do feel a little bit of tugging. And here you can see the stubble in my lather. You usually can't. Pretty easily moving through the stubble. And this is a case where I'm definitely a fan of a wet lather like this. Those guys who like pasty lathers, if you wait a long time to shave and you've got a few passes, a few days worth of growth on your face, and you have a pasty lather, you can definitely look at clogging issues with a good many razors. But a nice wet lather like I've got today. We have got some stubble in there. You usually, it looks like it's pepper. It looks like pepper because I've got white as well as black. I've got gray as well as the dark brown natural color of my hair, or original color of my hair. All right, let me get a rinse. It was a pretty patchy result in terms of closeness and that sort of thing, but considering 5 days of growth, I think it just means that the second pass it's going to do a little bit more work than it's used to doing. That's all. I don't mind that. I don't think I'm going to have to do 4 passes or anything like that. All right. Lather's looking terrific. The scent is a nice, yeah. It's weakened a little bit now that it's in lather form from just smelling the tub. But I can smell that lavender. I could definitely see using this every day because vetiver and lavender are both notes that are so popular in shaving. And so this could be someone's go-to soap. I feel confident. Just use it every day till it's gone, you know? All right, so here, let's see what kind of cleanup we do with this guy. I will go ahead and switch to a cross grain. I don't feel the need to do the with the grain again. Nice comfy razor. And that tugginess is gone. Any objections were left with that first pass with the vast excess of hair that I had there. I can feel the edge of the blade. I'm not gonna attack it quite yet with my cross grain from the other side technique until the third pass. Very comfortable pass. And I told you it might get a little creamier as I went on, but as soon as I said that, I thought, you know what? The standard rule is because of the water that I leave on my face after the rinses, it seems to gain hydration as it goes, and so generally a lather will be slightly less creamy with each pass. And so then I think what happened was it basically stayed the same because there weren't, sure enough, on this second pass, there weren't as many, almost no facial oils to counteract the lather. However, there was the added moisture. So, I just dabbed with a towel. That is what you can do if you kind of want to amp up the creaminess on a lather that's really well hydrated like this one is. So yeah, this brush is no slouch. He's a decent finest badger brush, and so I would definitely point people to it if they want an inexpensive, reasonably high backbone badger brush with somewhat soft tips and density, high-ish density. All right, we'll do that cross grain one more time just to kind of clean everything up. Generally, you may want to do the cross grain from the opposite direction, but I find that just so awkward on my cheeks here, going from my chin toward my ear, and I get a good result doing twice this way, and so that lets me just never mind that awkward stretching my chin up so that my neck folds right here disappear and I can kind of move around safely. Yeah, it just definitely feels like just a pickup pass where I'm working on just a tiny bit, a few little stragglers here and there, and now I'll do that cross grain from the opposite direction. So this Paladin soap is, it's not going to compete with somebody like Barrister and Man, Declaration Grooming, that sort of thing. I don't even think they're as good as Sterling, but honestly, Sterling is just tremendous. So you're only talking about Sterling being bad if you look at the price tag. Since they're so inexpensive, you almost have to put them in the category of less expensive soaps, but the performance doesn't warrant that. It is better than some of the lower stuff like Perazzo or Taylor of Old Bond Street, that sort of thing. But it's not quite as good as the current versions from folks like even the vegan offering from current Southern Witchcrafts. But you've got Summer Break and Seaforth, and who is also made by Spearhead. The Holland Springs Soap Company, and has a tremendous base out right now. And then, of course, you've got the big famous ones like Mammoth, Barrister and Man, Declaration Grooming. Noble Otter is very good. Chicago Grooming Company has a great base. They used to be called Oleo. All right, very good. I'm probably leaving somebody out, but you can't always name everybody. I did feel just a little tenderness, like during the splashes and that sort of thing, but I don't feel anything right now, so it's going to be a very comfortable shave by the end of everything. Yeah, so that is a pretty nice scent. And at first it doesn't seem all that standard. The Vetiver and the Lavender are kind of standard, but I think the addition of the Anise kind of keeps it a little hard. That's probably not a great word, but I think it's a pretty close word to try to look at the emotion of it. It definitely keeps it kind of on the manly end of the spectrum. It doesn't feel relaxing like a lot of lavender type soaps might tend to make you feel. However, it doesn't feel harsh at the same time. It kind of is in between those two extremes. I am going to put on this alcohol splash, and here's what it looked like. Look at this big old thing. It's 14 fluid ounces, 414 milliliters, and Jairus Musk for men. And so if you go to a beauty supply store, you can usually find this, especially if it's a large beauty supply store. And so if you do happen to find, there's another one that's the same shape that's called Coachman. I did not like it very much at all. So that's $6 down the drain. But this one, I splashed it on the other day, and I don't remember not liking it. I don't remember going, I wish I hadn't put that on. So that probably means good news. And so if I do like it, then, that's what a great value. Especially for those times when, I don't know if you have these same feelings, but you're about to maybe you normally might use a witch hazel type solution or just a balm that doesn't really smell like too much, and you're maybe about to go to sleep in an hour or two, or you have something where you're not really going to smell the scent, and so sure, yeah, you may not want to waste, something really good. I enjoy my fine American blend. I really enjoy that scent. And there's some others that are like that. You enjoy the scent so much, you don't want to waste it. You don't want your usage of it to be so short that you kind of miss out on it, right? Well, step in these inexpensive aftershaves. That could be a place where even if you know it's just a little while, if you find one that makes you happy, the Clubman Whiskey Woods is another one that's reasonably cheap. Got that one off Amazon years ago. All right, now what I'm going to do, since this is an alcohol type splash, my skin can sometimes, I know it does it with sterling aftershaves, can sometimes jump up with some redness if I apply it right after a shave. So I'm going to wait a second, and oh, you know what? Matter of fact, why don't I go ahead and put on a little bit of this? It's an aloe solution. It also has witch hazel in it, so that's why they don't call it witch hazel. They call it a toner. And so this can actually help to mitigate the experience of the alcohol splash later. So I can let this kind of tend to my skin. And that was also bought at the same beauty supply store, Thayer's. And this one's lavender, so of course it goes with today's soap. But the lavender itself is very, very weak. It's a hint. And so it goes with anything. It doesn't bother anything. Doesn't even smell too much like lavender very long after the shave. So I'm still going to let my face rest a little bit before I put on that cologne. So I'm going to give my brush a good washing now and rinse out things, that sort of thing. And here's what the brush looks like after a good rinse and shake out. And then here's what it looks like after a good towel stropping. You can see the tips aren't super white like this Maggard brush, which is probably treated a little bit more. The tips are softer, and so that bleaching agent or whatever is going to color the tips more. And so I definitely think it's a nice little badger knot to be so inexpensive. I'm going to use my steaming method to pull the knot out, I think. And even if they put it in with epoxy, it'll still, I've had it even pulling out then, but what can happen is the knot ball at the bottom that's all glue and stuff, the glue ball there, it breaks in half, and half of it stays attached to the brush. But that's okay, because all the hairs are gone, so you just get a Dremel in there and Dremel it out the rest of the way. I do have a couple of videos online about how to set a brush knot, how to steam the brush knot out, and so you can search on those as well. I have a playlist called Reference, and it might be that they are in there, but surely just searching for how to set a brush knot and you might see my stuff. All right, so I was really happy with the way that went. I think it's a nice little representative of the finest badger. If I was stuck somewhere, I'd enjoy using that, and it will relax a little bit over time as more of the bristles kind of open up and get a little bit more flexible, but it's quite dense, and so that's where the backbone comes from with that one. All right, we did not use any more than the 28 milliliters of water so far that we put in, and enough time has passed. I think it's time to try out the Jairus Musk again. And you can also use plenty of it if you want, because it's cheap. So you can just kind of splash it on all willy-nilly, as long as it's not so strong that it bothers, that it, there's some good scents you put too much on and you wish you hadn't, right? All right, very good. So that lather did perform very well. And this is another case of a lot of growth being taken down easily by a good, well-hydrated lather, and even a razor that's on the mild end of the spectrum. It happens all the time with me, and there we go. Yeah, the musk here, it is kind of a standard musky type scent, but it's not overwhelming right now. Maybe it will become that way someday, but I think I'm kind of enjoying it. It almost takes me back to some other place. So very good. That is today's shave, and I wish you guys all the best. This is Sugar Daddy Shaves. Hope there's something in this one to help you out with your shaving. If you're thinking about an inexpensive Badger brush, then obviously if you like the things I talked about this brush, then this could be a good choice for you. And there we go. You guys take care. Good night.